Morning. Hiya Janet, you alright? So, we're going to New York. I've never done anything like this before, so I don't know how it's going to turn out. But all the skyscrapers, etc. But I'm not doing it. I'll just show you the picture. I'm not doing it architecturally exact. I want it to be an impression of it rather than just a copy of the photograph. The photograph, by the way, I have the license for it, so I can use this. I paid for a license, so it's not just somebody's will. Morning, Ken. Are you all right? So, yes. So I'm set up. Dark blue, very dark blue paper. I've told you before, there's a little mark just, and I don't think it's pastel. If you get water on this paper, the Senelia paper, if you get water on it, it just takes the surface off the pastel paper straight away. So you've got to be careful of that. I must have I don't know, but it's at the edge, so it'll not be seen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to concentrate on the picture on the top half. I'll switch to the other camera, the close-up camera. So there's that mark I was on about. I'll soon find out. If it was water, it'll spread. That's the problem, but I've dried it up. The canvas is deeper, the pastel paper is deeper, so I'm going to concentrate on the top half down to about where this mark is, where the tape is, and then once I've got that done, I'll raise it up and we'll do the bottom half. So it's going to be, what I'm going to do is block in the buildings in the background, at the back of the Central Park, block them in, and then put some sky in. If I put the sky in first over the whole thing, then it's harder to block pastels in over the top of it. So I intend doing the pastels like that first. So I'm just sort of looking now for my photograph so that I can see it myself. I don't know where I'm at. I don't know where I'm going to. Wait a second, bear with me. Bear with me. You're still there. Sorry about this, it's just my photographs sort of got lost off a bit. Right, sorry, I'm just getting the photograph. I'm just making it smaller because it's filling the whole screen and getting in the road of what you were seeing, so I'm just making it smaller. I'll be back with you in about an hour and a half. Right, let's see what we've got now. Don't understand what's happening. It's normally see that all around. Right. I can't figure that out. So let's see. I'm going to switch over to Photoshop. But you should still see the picture. I'll soon find out. You can still see the picture. Or I can go into Photoshop. I'll have to keep checking to make sure you can see it properly. I'm going to start in a couple of hours. Right. All I'm doing now is just trying to get it so that I can see both things. Right, okay then. I'm going to start. I presume you can still see the canvas and my hand. Yep, that's fine. I've just had to move things around so that I get this photograph in the picture. And I'm going to start. I'm going to start in a minute. Right. I think I'm going to start in a minute. Yeah, okay then. Let's see what we do. Right, I've got this. This is an old, a modern version of a marl stick, which I may use just to rest my hand on. while I block in some of the buildings. I've just put them in loosely at the moment when I want the edges done. So I'm going to use a darkish colour. I'm going to build it up. So I'm going to use a darkish pastel and get the sense of the buildings in here. So we've got over here, we've got a dark one just in the corner up here. So I'm just going to put, don't need much because it's already a darker colour. That is water, by the way, because the pastel's not taking to it. So I'm going to move that in a bit because that will get cropped. So I'm just going to move that building in a bit. And I don't know if you can see it that well. You can. That's the building on the far right, coming down like that. There's more buildings just about here. And then there's the taller building, which is up here. And I'll just put it in broken. Like I said, I'm not worried. I'm trying to create an atmosphere rather than it being exactly architectural. That's my excuse really, so that I can just sort of do what I want. And then you've got the broader building coming up here, sort of going away at an angle like that. Getting that in. I'll define the edges and darken parts out as we go along. It's just really a matter of getting this sort of shape blocked into where I want. That wants to be a bit wider, I think. About there. Problem is as well, I'm standing at the side, so it's difficult to see if I'm perfectly upright when I'm doing it. And then you've got a block across there like that. And then you've got a one at the back, just there, smaller one. Just there. Slightly broader one just there. And then another one of there. Whoop. So that's sort of the shape of where the buildings are in the background. And then over to the side. Over to the side you've got this big block here. And that sort of comes up there and down here, just leaving a slight gap off to the left. And I've run out of pastel. Just darken that down a bit with another bit of pastel because it's just run out of the pastel. Just get that in there like that, right. I'm going to work pastels over to build up the sense of colour and texture. But these are just really getting down to the nitty gritty of where everything's going to be, shape wise. So now I'll put the sky in, sort of the background sky. And it doesn't matter if I drift over. I'll harden the edges up. That's too late. It's a matter of finding the pastel what you want. That's better. I'm going to put that on, then I'm going to dull that down a bit darker and then put that colour over it. That's better. Just trying to get a misty feel to this. There's actually a top of that building there. So I'm just establishing, there's a top just up there, just goes up. I'll just get a bit more sky in there. Right. I'm getting the sky in where I sort of want it. Now I'm just going to blend it in and tone it down a bit. That's still a bit too light. Some of these colours are lighter. Ah no, there's a darker grey. That's better. I don't want it to be dead bright, but I'm going to put a layer of colours in the sky so that there's no dark paper showing behind it. So I'm layering, this is like a darkish grey in. And this is a Dinah Townsend pastel. I'm doing it in different directions so that it covers other parts of the paper, so that there's no sort of too much left showing through of the actual paper itself. Over to here. Down this side. Now I'm sort of leaning over the camera, so it's trying to get the angle right. Right, that's fine. But what I wanted to do, the sky, is to sort of glow as it's coming down into the sort of the light area. I think we've got purple buildings. You've got to remember I'm red and green colourblind. I can't see, it's only when I put the grey on that I realise that I've got a more purpley colour there, but that's the beauty of being red and green colourblind. Right, got a lighter colour now, and I'm just going to put that in gently over, down in this area here. I'm just going to lightly drift it over there, just very lightly drift it into there, into the top half. And then I'm just going to use, I was going to use a bit of sponge, but I've lost a bit of sponge, so I'm going to use my fingers. I don't normally, but I'm going to use my fingers and just blend this in a bit, because I just want a blending of the sky. What you've got to remember is not to scratch your face after you've done this, because most of you that know me know I'm a clean artist. I like clean work. Right, so I'm just blending it across. I know I'm going through some of the buildings, but that's fine because I intend to lift them out afterwards. And that's fine. Right, what I've got to do now then is actually start getting the buildings in stronger. So we've got to get a darker colouring altogether. And I'm going to use the stick, the Miles stick. It's a modern version of it. It adjusts. You can slide it up and down and adjust. And it's just really to enable me, because I'm looking at an angle. It's just to enable me to get a straight line down. So I'm just sort of putting, and I'm going to go in for that building there. I'm going to fetch it farther in because, like I said, I'll have to crop it because that white bit of water where the water's dropped on it won't take the pastel. And I'm not too worried about getting it exactly edge for edge. I'm just wanting to just get a definite feeling of down onto there. I'm going to put different colours over it, greys, etc., so we get a variation. And then you're coming to the tall one. See, by what I'm doing is I'm resting my little finger on this Miles stick so I can feel the angle and the levelness of it coming down. Like that. See, oh, can I get that in for the easel so well? The top of the easel's handling that, but that's all right. Now this one is the broader one, the bigger one. Don't worry about getting hard edges too much. You want you want a sense of light and colour and reflection in it, so the edges can be blurred a bit. And the buildings can be blurred. If you can see, you can look closer, you can see parts of the darker bits of pastel just showing through. I'm not sort of pushing it solid over the top. And then you come to these little ones, and they're farther back, so they would be slightly paler, so I'm just sort of dulling them in a little bit like that. A bigger block just there, and then another one just there. And they're just sort of going away at an angle. That one's slightly broader. And then the big one, put the big one in down here, and that sort of goes up at an angle, so it's sort of angled upwards because you're looking at the right hand side of it, and then it's angled downwards because you're looking at it going away. And then you've got darker buildings down into here. That's alright. So now I've got to sort of darken areas in and lighten certain areas up. So going down the right hand side, of this taller building here, it's just a lighter edge. You can see just round the corner of it. So just see if I can rest in there and use that as a guide. And you can see the same thing, just like a line across the top. Buildings there. Putting a little bit of lighter ochre into it so that it's not too light. So I've got just a bit of brownish ochre. And just tracing over it very lightly so that it just blends and it doesn't jump out. Everything will get darker as it comes down. You just don't want it to be, you want it to be misty in the background. I know we're going to put some nice lights in, but you want this sort of sense of mist into the background. And this bigger one over here is the same. You've got a little bit more light coming in just down here. So just a few sort of strokes down, just to create that light. You're not looking to make it dramatically, accurately, architecturally correct. You're just trying to establish an area to it. Right, I think we're getting on that area. Right, I want a darker pastel to this side. A bit darker than that. I'll get one of the Townsend pastels again. Just getting a darker edge to that thing there, and the same here. Right, we want to sort of get a bit more intensity in the dark, but I don't want it to be solid, so I'm using colours over colours. So I'm using some of these really dark pastels here to get, but I'm sort of pushing it in, but not making it a solid area, so that you can see a sense of light and shape onto the buildings. Like that down there, so it's just showing up as a building at the edge. And same with this one here. This wants to be darker up here. And what it does is it comes out down here, so there's actually more buildings just in front here, coming down here. Sort of a frontage to that. So that wants to be just slightly darker than the one behind it. Like that. Just building up the levels. I'm having to keep looking at the photograph myself because I can't seem to get it on the camera with your camera at the same time. Just drifting a little bit over there, so I'm not separating anything, just drifting a little bit of pastel in, just to give a sort of an area. There's actually slightly darker just down the right hand side of that one. Just an edge, just slightly darker. Down there, and then in the bottom you have a selection of different buildings, and they get lost into the trees, so you just darken this down. Now, like I said, I'll take it down as far as the paper, the edge of the paper goes, just here, and then when we come to detail it, I'll sort that out for you. I'll move the canvas up. So you've got a mixture of trees and foliage in front of these buildings. These buildings are sort of set back, so you've got a layer of trees down to about here, about that area like that. I'll just move that out the road, don't need that in the way. And that comes along like that. I don't know why I can't get my picture to be on. That's the darker block in the front, and then you've got I'll tell you what, you've got a sense of grey just coming down here on these. Oh, sorry. A sense of grey just coming down here on them. Just getting sort of light, sort of street light reflecting up. So you where them buildings are in the background, you want a sort of a sense of lightness, of mist coming into them. And sort of drifting into this darker area here. And this wants to come down here like this, and just getting that sense of light. So there's a little bit of greeny colour in there to sort of try and create the neon feel to it. Blend a bit of that into here as well. So what you want when you're doing build like this is soft edges. You don't want to feel as though it's hard edges. You want it to blend into the light. So this is sort of trying to capture the neon feel of it. So even though it's darker across the top area there, just blend that in a little bit. Even though it's darker across there, you want a sort of a glow into this, the glow would come down to be above the bridge here. That's where your bridge is going to be. I'll just move this up because I can't see where you are. There you go. Normally I can see everything, but for some reason today everything's getting in the way. Right, so the same principle, just a light glow as you're coming down here. So the buildings vanish into the glow of the street life, etc. And then there's trees in front of that, so you get this sort of glow into here. And then we put a little bit of lighter ochre into that to get it just to feel that little bit. Let's try that. Yeah, just that's a bit too dark, so just a little lighter touch. I've got an ochre here somewhere. There we go. Just a little sense of the colour. And I am going to blend that in a little bit so that you still get a misty feel. Like I said, normally I don't, but I want this to have a look. If you've got a little bit of foam, you can use foam instead of your hands. And I have a bit of foam, but I don't know where the heck it is. So I'm just glowing that in and spreading it so that you get a sense of glow into this area here. sort of comes up there. I'm having to keep moving the picture around to see myself because I can't get to where you are. You move you up there a bit. Might lose your comments, but I'm moving it up there a bit. Right, so I know where about. So the picture's looking a bit brighter on the screen. I don't know what you're getting, but looking a bit brighter on the screen than it actually is on my paper. So there's a lot more intensity to it. But we've got to get some darks into these buildings as well. Otherwise the light won't glow on them. So we've got that. Now over to the right hand side, it's a sort of a greyness, a sort of a snow feel coming through. So over here, you just want this to be a feeling of grey, and you want to do the same effect. This is coming down to where the snow line will be. So you want that into there like that, and then blend it again. So there's nothing too dramatic, nothing too showing through too much. And like I say, normally I'll just lay the pastel on, and I will be putting harder and sharper pastel on, but I just want to get a softness into this area here. That's all right. I'm getting it in there. Right. So now we've got some darker bits to put in, definitely on these buildings. So I want some definite areas, not all the way. What I want to do is to create some darker areas where the light's going to be. So a real dark, and just put some areas in like that at a slight angle, because the building is going away at an angle from your perspective. So some real darks in here and there, even some individual. Well, there's a darker patch just there up to the top like that. And then leave a gap and put some darker lines across, sort of more singular. You're trying to create layers. I'll just move the canvas in so I can see where I'm at. That's alright, you're trying to create layers. So do the same on here. Some stronger areas at the top like that. And then one or two darker ones here and there. Just sort of make some lines and just drag down from them. So you're creating variations of lights and darks, so that everything isn't the same stuff. So here, this one, you can pull it darker there like that at the top, and you can come down and just sort of layer it, stop, leave a gap, layer it down a bit. And get that to run into these darks down here. A little bit of darkness there, a little bit out here. Now the background ones, I wouldn't put them in too strong. I'm just going to drift a little. I'm not going to try and layer them too much. I'm just going to drift a little bit of slightly darker pastel into it. More on a bluer side, so that it feels farther back. So just a little bit of bluey grey over that, but not pressing on. Just layering over the pastels you've already got on. So you're just shoving them back into the distance a little bit like that. I'm going to blur a little bit of that blue, same blue, into this building here. So we're still creating that sort of sense of mist. down into here, so everything's sort of going down into a misty feel to it. I'm just picking the pastels above the floor that I just knocked off, because otherwise I'll stand on them. I'll stand on them and then track pastel all over the gallery floor, which doesn't go down well. I'm just running my finger along some of them just to create a layer, like a line, an edge. So we've got that. What we want now is some dark trees into this foreground. So trees in the background down here, and then we put the lights in on that area here. So you want a really strong. I'm not using black. I'm just using a really strong sort of grey colour. Right, and blur it over the trees. I just sort of touch in with the trees like that. Where your lights have been, just sort of hit the pastel in. Hit the pastel in and let it sort of just blur through. You can pick out one or two individual bits afterwards. So you're just hitting that with strongs on the top. This is like the park trees just in the front of the whole building. So you've got these trees just in the front. You sort of go along there like that. So hit them in, but just sort of tap them in. We will. What I do when I'm doing these things is I put the darker colour in, then I will put the lights in amongst it, sort of punch holes in to create the lights. So you're just trying to create that layer of foliage, and I would just blend the foliage on the right hand side just up into and lose it into the building. So you just lose it up there like that. So you're just getting a sense of loss into there. Bit harder just here where it's coming across that sort of more misty feel. But again, just sort of tap it in. And that wants to sort of come over to here and sort of gradually disappear, because it's going away from you at an angle. So this is going to be your bridge just about here. So this bits of foliage here you want to be just sort of getting tapped in and just seen as looser, more distant bits of trees in there like that. And then in front of there's a darker one, because that's nearer to you. That's coming down to the bridge. So that's darker, going off the side here. I'm trying to look at both pictures, at what I'm doing for you and what I'm seeing at the same time. Right, so strongish feel down there. Let's just have a look at it. All right, we're getting there, slowly but surely. Right, now what you can do is you can flick in one or two just with an edge. You can sort of flick in a sense of trees behind. Just a few touches in like that. What's going to go across here, it'll be the snow level up here. So we need lights into this building now. And in the background ones, you just want a sort of a bit of a glow. So you can get a layer of the bluey grey again, and you can just create a little sense of glow off some of these, just sort of fetching it down and just creating some lines sort of going away at an angle a bit. So it's sort of blurred into the background. Now just blur that in with your finger a bit, or your rubber if you've got your foam, if you've got a bit of foam. Like that. And then you want some lighting in there, but you don't want the lighting to be as strong as, say, this area here or these here, but you want a sense of it in there. So you want to, I would use an ochre, a sort of a duller ochre. And just get one somewhere here, yeah. And just touch in to suggest some lights into these at the back. And make your strokes go along at a slight angle. Not individual lights. You can put some individual ones in after, but just make your strokes go as though it was a level of office level. And because it's on an angle to you, it's got to be angled down. So just create a few sort of strokes like that here and there. You don't need to fill them all in or make lots of them. Just a few little suggestions of buildings in the background. There's a brighter patch just farther down. There's odd individual ones just here. A line just there. Just going away. Odd line here and there. Just going to move my picture up so I can see my picture. That's alright, yeah. Getting that into there like that. And then, like I said, you've got these bits. What you need to do is create a sense of light just in amongst the trees behind. The racket you hear is my daughter cutting mounts down below in the gallery. So you just need a few cents of light and put them in amongst the trees, slightly getting brighter, and you just dot in and hit hard strokes in amongst the trees like that. So you're just getting lights coming down into there. There's a brighter patch just there altogether. Now perspective wise, it wouldn't be as much as an angle as it's getting farther down. It would be less angle. So I'm putting that in like that. I'm just going to create a little bit of light blue, just a sense of a bit more light in amongst these trees. So just a few little bits of blue light as though you're closer, just in amongst the edges here. So you're just trying to create this sense of looking through the trees a little bit. I think that just needs to be just that little bit more toned down just there. Just touch into them. Right, now we want some brighter lights into there, but you don't want too bright, like I said. So get an ochre and just touch in. I'll tell you what the best thing to do as well is on a bit of paper, clean your pastel, because it picks up all sorts of muck. So clean your pastel on a bit of paper and then just individually put some lighting into this building. One or two individual ones here, somebody who stayed back late working. Just tone them down a little bit, they're just a bit too strong in places, so as they're coming down, just toning them down. I want that darker across the top, just across the top of there. I just want to feel it a bit stronger. that's just slightly more silhouetted out, and that one wants to be taller. One or two darker lines here and there. Just wait a second, a bit darker than that. Just one or two just touches just to suggest darker parts of the building, the offices, etc. Need something darker than that. There you are, just a few little touches here and there. They've turned the lights out, they've gone home. The top of there. That's all right. And then making sure that you get the light coming into here. Down in the trees, in amongst the trees, you can put some brighter lights in altogether. So you can hit that with some brighter lights and a few flicks coming into that building along the side there. So you can just hit some brighter lights into there. Now we'll come across the top and want more whiter lights into these, more sort of a feeling of white. But to get the light intense, you need a colour behind them. It's no use just making one blast of white. You need a sense of colour behind them, so you get a glow off them. So you want a warmish colour. Now I'm just going to use a warmish ochre and just put in some little bits of ochre into here. There's one or two just across the top edge there, like that. Into there. You don't have to get them exact. It doesn't matter if you miss somebody's window out. They're not going to write and complain. Just make sure you try to go on a similar angle to the building. And they don't have to be bang on, because when you've got light coming out of a building, you have a more sense of glow out of the framework, if you know what I mean. It doesn't all just sparkle in the window frame itself. If you're doing a night scene and you want windows to be light, put a glow coming through the framework. I don't know if there's any comments coming, because I can't see comments now. No, you're right. Right, so you're just putting these in across here like this. And like I say, it can be just thicker because it's a glow. And you put some harder, brighter lights in afterwards. Put one or two just individual ones in here and there, like that. A few like that. And then there's a line just where you put the darker area. There's a line just coming down like that, virtually joined together. That's going right across. One or two just below, a couple of single ones, and then another line. I'm going to make a couple of these just more orangey. Just going to get a more orangey colour, just so that we've got a different variation of glow. So as we come down there, this is just a bit more orange into them windows just there. Remember, there's a big tree going to come in front of all this. And then there's this line just across here. One or two just slightly hidden, which will be behind the tree. One or two just thinner ones like that. And then a biggish line just across there. This is the first time I've ever painted skyscrapers at night. Another level there. I'm going to add brightness to these, so it's not going to be left as just this colour. in there like that. Now get a bit of grey into parts of these, some of these windows, so a little bit of grey light into one or two of them. Just hit them with a little bit of grey here and there, so you're just making them glow out a little bit more. Just dotting into the areas. I'm not using white, it'd be too intense the area. I'll put some white in some of them, but I'm just sort of hitting with a very pale grey. Just dots, just to create that glimmer of light. And then there's a whole row of it just here, so just you're just creating a glimmer. Slightly darker grey just down into the area down here, where there's a sense of lights just drifting away at an angle, and just a shimmer of light just into there. Right, a bit more orangey coloured in. Get a nice glow on some of these windows. One or two just showing through there. One or two just showing through the trees. So just blot into the trees and just create a sense of light coming through some of the trees. You've got them along there, but you want some whiter lights just down there. So you can use that sort of grey, if I can find it again, and put a feeling of brighter lights, more intense lights here and there, which will be closer up to you. They're probably more like a street light or something like that. Just here and there, just adding to the general effect of it. And then you can get some bright yellow, and it wants to be bright. I'm using a fairly bright yellow, and you want one or two of these to have a sense of brightness in. So one or two going along like that, just that little bit of yellowy feel into it. Don't think you can put a couple of little bits of yellow in there, but I want that to be lighter type stuff. There's a little bit of glow just there, and then there's them there that you'd already put in with a bit of yellow. I've probably created another level down here, but that's fine. Again, put some through the trees here and there, just touches, as though you can see through little parts of tree branches, etc. And then you can use a little bit of white, and I've got some white somewhere. Oh, there it is. I knew I had some white somewhere. And just in amongst the yellows, just hit inside the edges of the yellows with just that little sharp brightness. Like that. See, you're getting the intensity of the light. You've got the yellowy glow around it, and you're getting the intensity of the light. You don't need to do them all, just coming through. There's quite a strongish one just there. And you can do the same across this top layer here. And a few into here. Don't do them all, just hit with a little bit of bright light like that, just to create the the real hard light kicking in there. 1 or 2 dots. That's alright, that's fine. I'm quite happy to leave that one toned down and in the background, but we need this one doing now, so we need this. I'm just moving my picture because I should have printed the picture out to have a look at, but I didn't. Right. Somebody having a good laugh down there. Right. Tell you what, I've forgotten to stick my mic on, so I'm putting my mic in, which means I've got to get hold of my shirt. Right, mic's a bit closer. Right, up here we've got a dark tower. So I'm forgetting what buildings that is. I know that one of these off to the left, I think, is where John Lennon lived. I've got quite a few photographs that I took when I was there. We want a dark area just up here off the top of that building. So darken the top of the building to create a sort of an area of silhouette just there across that top at an angle like that, and down the other side, and then a little bit of darkness just above it for the tower going up and off the screen like that. Same principle what you did over here. Get some darker areas into the building in sort of layers. And some darker ones even going off at an angle on the other side of the building. Just lose that. One or two, again like that, 1 or 2 just going off at a slight angle down. Probably a bit stronger angle. But blur them. I don't want them jumping out on the picture. And like I said, what you're actually seeing is a lighter version of it. For some reason it looks a bit lighter than it does on the drawing, so I'm just going to dull that down a little bit, because although it looks dark on mine, it looks fairly light on the picture, so I'm just dragging some texture into there so it isn't as bright, and a bit stronger into there. And blur that down into the trees, etc. Right, so what we need to do now then is create some light into the top. So again, get a warm glow of ochre and create a light top to that tower. Just a bit of orangey pastel in there and a few little flicks. This will get cropped at the top, so it doesn't need to go right off. A few little flicks just up there, just to suggest that intensity of warm light just up there. And then you're going to sort of hit it with a strong light. So after that you want a strong bright yellow into it, very bright. Just creating that glow of the tower in the top. And then after that, come down now and start creating windows. Now you want a few greyish ones in, so that it's not all just light. So you want 1 or 2, a bit darker than that actually, I think. A little bit darker. I'll find a little bit darker. No, I can't find it. Oh, there you go. Just a little bit stronger. I think I've dropped the darker ones on. So just a few little flicks like that at an angle, so that you're creating lights, but not bright all over. You're going to put some brighter ones in, but if you look just down here, there's sort of a level of lighter area just there. Just a level where there's a bit more light, and there's a bit more light just coming out from the bottom of that building, just there at an angle like that. So one or two little spots in of lights, just using a grey. Watch your angles. It wants to be quite strong at the top down perspective. As you get down here, it levels out, but up here it wants to be a strong angle. And I'm adding more windows than necessary, but just even in there where you've just put a light, just put an odd light in so you get a sense of a window and windows just behind it. Just in there like that. Right, get a darker colour, a darker edge, because you need to create some darker lines in here as well. Not too strong or not too much, but just in certain areas, just create a line to suggest a flaw in the building. Just going back stronger. Perspective wise, it's not as strong an angle as you're coming down. A bit stronger just on the top there. One or two dots. It's all about building up layers, levels of room. Right, we want some lights into there now. So you can put a bit of a glow into there, so a little bit of yellow, but not the brightest of yellow. I would use actually a sort of a more cadmium type yellow. I'll just clean it a bit and just put some layers of windows in up there, just sort of going away down. There's some quite intense ones just there. Don't make them too big. The problem is you can have them slightly bigger for a glow, but then you need to make an intense area. Now just down here, they're more like a lighter grey as they're going away. Just here, they're not so white, so not so yellowy, so you can just sort of make a more touch of greys into there. And then the yellows in here and there. Remember, you've got some strong trees coming in front of all this. Right, odd one, just hit it with a little bit of white, but not too much. Just there's a bit there, just up in there, just a little bit of white into a couple of parts, and especially just there. Sort of join them together and put a little bit of the bright yellow into them. So you get a sense of glow here and there, like that. And then you're coming to the other side. So on this side here, we want light, but again, we don't want it to be dead bright first. We want a sort of a warmth to it. So I'm just going to use an ochre. just put some ochre lines down here at an angle. Remember, you're looking at it perspective wise at an angle down there like that. I'm just adding a few more. I know there's a tree going in front of here. I'm just adding a few more. Because after I put the tree in, I might hit some bright lights through that area. Right, now you can get a brighter yellow. Just clean it, because you get mucky with doing it over this pastel. So brighter yellow, and hit some intense lights into them. Again, it's just sharp bits in amongst the ochres you've done, so it's just a glow with a light intensity. I might put some white in the top of that just to give it a little bit more intense light coming off. Right, I think that's looking all right. I can add more afterwards as I want to. I'm just going to get a sharp white and just hit a little bit more white into the top of that, so you get a real harder glow off it, and one or two of them. Just one or two. That's looking all right. From a distance, from about 6 miles away, it looks fine. Right, I'll come over and do the other side. Get the other side of the buildings done. So this one here, and this one hasn't got much light on at all, as far as I can see. I can't see the photograph that well. Oh, it has a few down there. So a little bit of the yellowy ochre, and put one or two through here. Once you put the tree in, you might have to go back in. I'm trying to lean underneath the camera. Once you put the tree in, you might have to go back and put some windows in between the tree branches. Don't make this as bright as these. It wants to be just a sort of an accompaniment. Doesn't want to look as bright. Some little touches. Like I said, once you've finished it, just some odd touches here and there, just as though there's a building here, just casting a few little bits of light. Once you've finished it, you can go back in and create more intense light. Just off here, just there, there's quite an intense area of light, just there. As though there's a building, as though this comes down and expands a bit. There's quite an area of brighter light catching the eye just there. Again, with one or two in between, but like I said, you'd be putting the tree in and then you'd be painting that in afterwards. Right, a darker glow into these up at the top, so a bit of sort of ochre colour, nothing too bright. Find a darker ochre right here, sort of more warmer, ready ochre, and put some in here. Remember, angle again. Just flick them in. We'll create bits in between, so just flick them in, just little touches. And this is sort of creating the glow. Gallery's busy. Gallery's been busy all week. Last week sold a load of originals. So all I'm doing is building up various levels. It's difficult doing this standing up behind a camera, leaning around it, but it's looking all right. So coming down, just putting various levels, because there's going to be trees in between this, so you don't need to get too panicky over it. The beauty of the trees as well is it'll hide some of the lines where you might not be level. So I've got that just with a sort of a warmish ochre. I'm going to put some lighter colours into it here and there. And you sort of push them into that ochre. If any of you are making comments, I can't see them because I've got for some reason me things over the comments. I'll just have a quick look to see if there's anybody making a comment. I can't even move anything. I'm sorry, I can't see any. Wait a sec, I might be able to click on the comments and come forward. Oh yeah. Oh yes, hi. Dawn. Sorry for the late arrival. I've been on an online meeting for daughter's care. I'll catch up on the beginning afterwards. Okay, Dawn, that's fine. That's fine. See you after. Right, so bright lights here, and you've got lots of these, so you can just put in like the intense sort of, not bright as this. This has got to stand forward. This has got to feel as though it's farther back. So you're putting lights in, but not the white lights in. And like I say, after you've done the trees, you can then decide where you want some brighter light showing through the branches here and there. Got a lighter one, not too strong, but just odd one. Just the odd one, flick some intenser light in. But as you're coming down into this area, you don't need it to be too intense. You can make it yellowy, but don't make it too intense. But you can make it sort of yellowy and warmer as it's coming down into this area here. And there's actually another building just there with a sense of glow behind it. Just a little sense of light in here, I think. I think there is there, so it doesn't matter if I've knocked another building up for New York. It's in here in Central Park where I met that saxophonist guy, and he was brilliant. played a tune I asked him for, and then I took a photograph of him. He let me take a photo, and then I did a painting. I was quite pleased with the painting. He was just playing in Central Park. Right, I think we've got to that stage where we've got a sense of the glow of the buildings. Once you get back off it, it's all there. But we've got to put the trees in and the snow in. But I'm going to put the tree in first and get that in, and then the snow, I think. So I'm going to put this tree in here, and I'm going to use some charcoal for the main tree, because I can't get the intensity with it. I haven't got a black pastel, to be quite honest. So I'm going to draw the main trunk in. See how it's moving the pastel around? Can you see that? Now I'm going to move this up a bit so that you can see what goes on. So I'm just going to lift, just raising the level of New York. I'll raise it up to where the bottom of the paper is. There you go, that's the bottom of the paper. So we've got this strong tree in here. And I'm just putting it through, and I will get some stronger edged pastel just to suggest more branches. But I'm just sort of getting a feel of where the branches are. Obviously some of them have snow on, and they want to come in right up here. So I'm going to have to use a darker pencil to get them up there. So I'll find this real black here. Just tracing in some finer branches here and there. I'll drift stuff across so that it becomes more sort of finer and blurred. So I'll just drift them up into the sky a little bit. It's just light touches of it angular. And it's not black, it's a very dark umber really. I haven't got a black, don't have a black. Just light tracings on it till you get down to these main sort of branches, and then there's one coming out through there. So like I say, you put the branches in, and then you can always add a few flicks of light showing through it. And across there's a bigger one coming off it here, down in that tree, and then finer ones. And you can afterwards as well, if you've got a pastel pencil, you can get some finer lines in. But the problem I find with the pastel pencils is if you put a lot of pastel on the paper, you can't draw into it so well. The pencil doesn't work so well. So all I'm doing is sort of tracing a few in. The only way to do it would really be to spray some fixative over it, and then you'd be able to draw into it. Stronger branch coming out here. You don't have to worry about it being totally exactly every branch. Coming out here like that. Branches overhanging here. A long one coming out over this side. And you use some snow on these to make these, to define these, to show where they are. Come back and put the snow on them afterwards. Just putting the thick in. We'll come back to this. This is probably not going to get finished this morning. Might have to finish it on Friday. Because like I said, once I've got the trees in, I want to actually punch some holes in with the lights in between there. You've got a little bit of a sense of a tree just sort of there, just in the background. That's a start of it. And then let's have a look. Yeah, it's just mainly this big tree just really overhanging the branches coming down through here and overhanging to where the bridge is really. And then these ones are just a dusting in the background, farther back. And then you've got a bigger one coming over from the left. So you've got a bigger one coming down here where the bridge is. So that's coming from up here. There's some smaller ones to the outside, but I'm not really worried about it. I'm just going to tap in and just create a little bit of broken tree and bushes just behind, maybe a little bit more stronger just there. Right, and this one sort of comes up to here and then it just sort of expands out. A few little finer ones. I'll draw some finer ones in afterwards when I get to see if I can get a sharp pencil into parts of it. I'm not going to spray it. I don't want to spray it because spraying, to me, the spraying with the fixative will just dull some of the lighting. Just some little flicks for branches out there. Like I said, we're going to put snow into them, so you'll get down there all right. So I'm going to put in some of the snow along the bottom and then later come back and put more tree trunks in and get the light into that. Get this. I want the trees to be in front of it so that you're looking through. So we've got to get that sort of done there. So I want the sense of snow down here. Sorry, I'm going to put a bit of snow onto the parts of the branches so that you can see where they are. So this branch coming up through here like this, just off this edge here, has some snow on it like that. Just little touches. Just going to use a sort of a more grey feel to it because I don't want it to be bright white, to be quite honest, just a bit more duller grey. We'll have to come and sharp. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll just put this one in here. This comes down here like that, just flicks out. What I'm going to do is just go behind this tree and just put a sense of more colour in, so when I do where the black is, it stands out better. So I'm just trying to get a little bit of glow of light behind the tree so that the black of the tree stands out a little bit better. So I'm just going to blur these colours in a little bit. And then afterwards I'll come in with a stronger, darker branch so that it'll stand out against that glow in the background. You want a glow of light into where you can see through the trees a little bit. So just that sense of glow into there. And the glow goes farther up, so you want it sort of just lighting up here a little bit. Just here, just a little bit more glow into there, so that it just blends. You're trying to create the glow of the night, the street lights up, and then just into here a bit more snow through the background, so just a little bit more through the background. Now I want the snow to be strong, but I don't want it to be bright white all over the place, so I'm going to sort of put it in as a colour and then hit white in parts where I want. So I'm going to use a grey, the same grey as I've just done, and I'm going to put the snow line in across here, coming up to the bridge, and the bridge will start about there. So the snow line's coming up there, down to the water and the side of the bridge, which should be there, so it goes up against the edge of the bridge down there, and that's sort of your water level just there. I'm going to add a little bit of colour into it. I want it to be frosty, but I want to just get a sense of some reflected light onto it down there. So I'm just going to add in, especially at the back edge, a little bit of ochre in. So you just get that glow of some of the lights into it. Doesn't want to be bright white because it's meant to be nighttime. Just a dot of things in the lights in the background through it. Right, I'm going to just blend that in with a little bit more blue so that you don't see the dark of the paper coming through. So I'm putting some blues in. I will tone it all down, but I want it to just have that look of nighttime snow as opposed to being bright daylight. And I'll add lights afterwards as I feel I need them. I'm just blocking everything in now so we know where we are. Right, you've got snow coming down. I'll put the bridge in so that you can see where the bridge is going to be, and the bridge is going to sort of start about here, about there, along a bit and curve upwards. And down off to the other side like that. Curved edge up at an angle like that. Up at an angle like that. And then a sort of a darker reflection just underneath. That's where your snow's going. That's where your water line's going to be, just there. So you're going to have the water line in just across there. and that just traces off. So that's going to be your bridge on there. What you're going to do now is just behind the bridge, just a sense of the buildings and the light behind it. Nothing too heavy at the moment. I'm just going to put a lighter colouring in. I'll tidy it all up. And get the edge. I'm just blocking it in so that you can see sort of where it wants to be. And this is going to be the water down here. Into there. A little bit of lighter glow in the back, as though you can see through parts of the snow line just in the back, so you just sort of lighten that up just through there and just fetch it down to sort of the edge of the lake along there. And then one or two just little touches of reflection down just there, just a little bit, just a little bit of glow, and then some edges to it, just darken it underneath a little bit. A little suggestion of trees or whatever just into there. And then you need some reflections and some lights into that. So a bit of yellow first, just into there. A bit of yellow. A little bit of yellow reflecting down. Remember, it's water, so it has you want a downward strokes for it. Touch of white into them. And then your snow line. Make the snow line the same colour, not bright, sort of a bluey colour, coming down this edge here and into the edge of the lake just there. So you've got that into there. Now you want greys and white, so it doesn't want to be bright blue, so you're just toning it down, just building it up, getting the levels. Be sharper and lighter just at the edge of the lake there. That tree wants to come down into it. There. And then you want some snow in the front across here. That's white. You don't want white, not at this stage of the game. The best thing to do with this is to sort of layer it. So I'm using bluey greys to sort of layer the snow in and then pick some intense areas out afterwards. So your snow's coming along there like that. Out here and across here. Again, put a little bit of ochre into it so you get just a little sense of light into it in parts. Not fill it all out, but you just want that little sense of light in parts of it. And then your lake. And your lake wants to be a sort of darkish grey around here. So downward strokes for your lake. You'll add more to it afterwards with downward strokes, so you're just creating a little bit of pool of water, probably darker over to this side because it is darker over in this corner. So a little bit darker over here. Then afterwards you've got some little bits of rushes, etc., just coming through the front. Need to sort of tone down the snow now, so you want some greys across just layering across with some grey, so nothing dead bright with the snow. I'll go back over the tree. Little bits of sharper edges. This snow down here wants to be toned down a bit. It doesn't want to be as bright because it's closer to you and it's in shade a bit. So we'll tone this area down a little bit. And then, like I said, little bits of reflected light onto the snow lines and just harden some edges up like that. And just a flick in here and there, just odd flicks, so you just feel as though you can see light. It's no use having this bright white, it doesn't want to be bright white. Sort of just trace a little bit of white over it, but just tracing it over. Don't put it in solid, just tracing sort of sideways strokes and just tracing some snow edges into here. You can make it a bit stronger just where that white is just there, where that light is just there. You can make it stronger there and just where it's going off up the edge there. I'll be doing the tree again, but you want a little bit of shadow off that tree trunk, just cast across, so a little bit of shading. A little bit of bluey grey into that. Darker. Just wants to be a bit more, make it stronger, and then I'll tone it down. So it wants to be stronger near the tree trunk, but gradually fade as you're coming away, and a bit darker down under that area there. There's a little tree just in the background. What I would do is just trace in a lighter tree just there and just sort of suggest snow on the branches by just flicking in a few little bits. It doesn't want to be too bright, it just wants to have a sense of a tree trunk just back there. Yeah, a little bit of shadow of it. So little bits of shadow just coming across here. There's also little bits of things going on, but I'm not worried about them. Just a sense of a shadow just coming across from there. Tree trunk in the distance, like that. And I'm just going to tone down this edge of the snow, just into the bottom area. And a lighter ochre just over it. Clean edges on the top. The bridge will have light on across the top of it, but we'll do that on Friday because I want to get these trees in stronger. So I need to lighten up. I need to lighten up behind them trees. My problem is I can't get a solid black, and I don't want it, but I need to get a little bit more glow. So there's a glow of light coming through them trees. Just need a bit more glow behind, so the tree, when I put it in on Friday darker, will stand out a little bit better. I think that's coming on. I'm going to obviously put snow into this bridge here as well, and you're going to have some nice sort of reflections down from the edges. Want some dark edges across the bottom of the water, where the water's edge is, so you want some stronger bits in here and there. Of which you will make some just slightly bigger, so that haven't got a sense of the bank. You're going to have a strong reflection, a strong dark under the bridge with a reflection there off it, like that, and then some strong dark underneath these areas here. Raise some up so that it looks more broken, the bank side, not such a straight line. Darken the bottom of this one. And the bottom of that one. Now you're going to put reeds and growth up here afterwards, but you can put a few little finer lines just in the far side. I'm just using a bit of a charcoal stick and just flicking a few cents of little bits of edgings just sticking up there. And like I said, I need to get the tree darker. It can be light. It can have a slight lightness against the snow. It doesn't want to be solid black against the snow, but it needs to be strong when it's coming up into the edges here. And what you'd also do is, like I said, you'll punch in some holes in behind the area here where the tree, when you finally get the tree in, you'll just punch some holes in to suggest lights flickering through. But we'll do that again on Friday, because I want to sort of tidy this area up, get the snow finished, get the bridge finished. A little bit of light across the top of the bridge. And then just odd little flicks in amongst the trees. There's people on the bridge. We'll have to put them in as well, maybe a red umbrella. I'm just going to put that colour, a little sense of light, just a little tracing of light just down the side of that building, just a little bit. So it just stands out a little bit more. When you put the lights in like that to show through, you can go to the side of, see the tree trunk that's going to go up there, you can sort of put some lights in behind it and on the other side. Which helps form the shape of the tree trunk going through. And a few more lights just into here, just a few flicks into here to suggest there's a lot more going on in that background than what the eye does. Right, I'm going to leave it at that because I want to get this tree more defined, and obviously the bridge and the water and the reeds, etc. And once we've got the tree defined, then we'll put some more window frames in. And like that's my hand. Right, I'm going to show it back so that you can see it. You can see it clearly. It's a lot brighter looking on the camera than it actually is. I've got it dark, but it looks a bit bright on the camera. So I'll just lift that at an angle up a bit. Raise that up a fraction, down a fraction. So the tree's not too bad when you get back of it like that, but we need this defined. We need the snow toned down maybe a little bit, not too much toned down, and we need some reeds and grasses in, and we need the lights in amongst the trees. Thank you, Janet. Yeah, great one. I think it's looking fine. It's going to look all right. But like I say, don't over define it. All these are just blurred edges. You want it to have a feeling of lost edges rather than it being dead, hard, sharp buildings. They look better done that way. If you make them too defined, you're losing the painting. You're just doing a photograph. And I think that's looking fine. Might need some more. Once we've got this tree in and this tree in stronger, then we'll get them looking fine. But I think it's nice. I want some foliage in down here, but I'm going to have to leave it for now. Thank you, Dawn. Yep. You're doing all right, Dawn. Right, I've got pastel on the floor. I need to clear up before my daughter comes up and sees the mess up here. Right, so I'll leave it at that for you, and I'll save the video. I don't know what happened to the video yesterday. It has vanished completely off my computer. I can't find it. I've looked all over. It was there yesterday afternoon when we finished it. Ken, my paper is light grey. What shall I do to the water? I think you'll need to darken it, Ken. It wants to be. I wouldn't put it blue water or anything like that. Put it darker. Put a dark umber on if you've got one, and then a grey over the top of it, and just downward strokes. Dawn, you're okay. I was hoping to come to the gallery today. All right. Yeah. The pictures are here. They're waiting for you. So whenever you can make it, they're here. So yeah, Ken, downward strokes with your water. Dark umbers, greys. Don't leave it light grey. For your snow to stand out, it wants to be darker. And you don't want a lot of detail into it. You just want it darker. So right, so if you're happy enough with that, I think that's looking fine. I'll just put a frame round it, a mount round it, just to see. Clean mount, just round it. The mount's not big enough, but you can see when you put that effect on what you get. There you go. Like I say, all this is just blurred bits, nothing too precise, nothing too much, and done freehand on there. I'm going to leave it at that because I've got to clean up, and I'll finish this off on Friday morning, and then I'll see you tomorrow night for the cheetah. Right, see you later, folks. Bye.